It's 2024, March. I bring that up because this is the 44th year I've brought this car. Actually, I've owned this car, the 1962 Shark Roadster, for 44 years. And much to my surprise, I've lived in Dunedin since 1979. So I think that's 45 years. 79, right, because I bought this in August 1980. I found this car on my way. I was working as a bellman. I was in high school in Dunedin Beach, or not Dunedin Beach, Dunedin High School in Dunedin, Florida. And I was a car guy already. I was 17 years old, but I worked for a guy named Paul Terhorst. Paul was a wonderful individual. I was friends with his wife. I was friends with his three daughters, and he had no sons. So I learned to work on cars because my father had passed away some years before. Through Paul on his cars and Mustangs and Packards and Cadillacs, a lot of pre-war Auburns, all sorts of cool stuff. Mustangs, of course, are post-war. And so by the time I came down here, I was working to learn more about my 55 Cadillac Fleetwood, which I kept for many, many years later. So by the time I came down here, I had actually known in 1979 quite a bit about antique cars, even some things about fiberglass cars from the 1950s and 60s. But when I came across this working at in downtown Clearwater, on my way to working as a bellman on Clearwater Beach, I worked there for 7 years, I thought I came across something that was futuristic, that it came back in time and crash landed. I thought this thing looked, and of course it didn't look like this. It had been abandoned and it was trashed and it was rusted out in the pan and the engine was seized, and it was just perfect for a guy who knew a hell of a lot about cars, but nothing about this car called the Shark. So I had to learn a lot about the Shark. So I'm 17, I'm 18, 19, 20, started at St. Petersburg Junior College. Had a lot of, had a 55 Cadillac Fleetwood that I had restored with Paul up in Chicago, came down here, was restored. So, but what do you do with a car like this when it doesn't even run? We had to figure out what it was. It was based on Renault. It was actually a Renault 4CV. And the people that I bought it from, it was a funny story too. I was friends with them, all of them, father, daughter, son, for throughout all of their lives. They've all passed away now, but for about 40 years. In fact, the last one, the son, died just a few years ago during COVID. But I was friends with them the whole time. I've kept the car for way too long. So they had, some of the original investor, the father was an original investor in the company. He told me quite a bit about it. I think the ad, which I still have in Auto Trader, said one of 6 built or one of 3 built or something, and they were pretty close. They built 6 convertibles. I found the first one in 1979. It looked abandoned, but it was behind the surveyor's office, which was the father's office in business. And I remember going there, it would have been in probably the summer of 1980, the spring of 1980, the fall of 1979. I'd visit the car on my way and just kind of look at it and such. And finally, they knew me. They knew I wanted to buy it at one time, but I was opening up the Auto Trader and one day, and there it was for sale. Shark, one of 6 built. The ad's actually on our website if you go look at the stories. And so I rushed down there, took all the money I had, and they remembered me. I talked to the daughter and the son, and it was daughter, Sylvia, mostly. And they remembered me, and they said, well, how much are you going to offer on the car? I said, well, he said, we have an offer of $500 already. He said, well, all I have is $350. And I said, but, I'll do the best I can to keep it. And they took the $350. I don't know if they ever did have another offer or not. It really didn't matter. They knew I loved the car. And I actually finished the car. God, I got it restored first within the first year and a half. It turns out that the Renault engine, it was a pretty stable engine, 5 main bearings, and I had it restored, a 4CV, and it was a 1959 Renault 4CV underneath. And the chassis still is that. I upgraded the engine to, later on, to a 1970 or 71 R10 engine, which is a bigger engine with a 4-speed synchromesh transmission. It's a brand new engine. I've never driven it, but I rebuilt it years ago. And the synchromesh 4-speed is a lot safer because the 59 4CV had a smaller engine, 700 some cc's, and a 3-speed not synchromesh. That's the one I drove around in at age 17, 18, 19. You want to have no fun at all. Cars are looking at you. You think it looks crazy now. Go back to those times, and you're on the road. You're trying to maneuver outside of cars. They're shouting at you. Heck, I remember going where I did in Dunedin Beach, as I mentioned, to the McDonald's at the end of Dunedin Beach, and you order a Coke, and you have to reach up to the window to get the Cokes and the hamburgers about 2 feet. You're really low. I mean, the highest point of this car is below my waist. It's 30 some inches. I've forgotten exactly, but 30 some. It's a fun thing to drive. It's a dangerous thing to drive. It's much better to look at like we're looking at now. But since we had done so much work on the car, we will finish the restoration in terms of mechanical. It did debut in this finished form in Amelia Island, Concord Elegance in 2013. It's been on Auto Week TV back then. It's been on Jay Leno's Garage. Heck, it has about 600,000 views on Jay Leno's Garage. Several of our cars have been on Jay Leno's Garage. Oh, it's been at shows up in Connecticut, a show Cars from the Sea. It was at an aquarium, believe it or not, for a really cool show. Show Cars from the Sea, cars with names like Marlin, cars with names like Stingray. We had the Banger Manta Ray, and we had the Shark up there the first year, and some more cars the second year. They built 6 over the years. I found another one in I found it about the same time, just a couple years after my research. The company that built the car was here in Florida, actually St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm still friends with the family today. And they built 6, and I've got all pictures from the families, and I found other people who helped build the cars, and they had them. And I think I have pictures of at least 3 or 4 being built, and I own 3 Roadsters now. And I think I may have the pictures of the Roadsters, because each one was a little bit different. Bodies were the same, but they were configured differently with antennas and doors, and some doors opened up, and some had different motive power. Some were Corvair. The hardtops, one was Porsche or 2. So they're really cool. I mean, what a neat car. And it was based on this particular car, the 62 Porsche, or the 62 Shark Roadster. It was based on the 61 Tiburon coupe made by Henry Covington. And you can go online and find the full story between Henry Covington and the Shark. And his first partner was Glenn Gumbs, who built and designed these cars. Henry, after building the first 6 Covington Tiburons, the coupes, passed away. I think it was May of '62. As of today, 2024, his wife is still with us. She's 100 and some years old, living in the same house the cars were built. And she didn't want to go further into production, but his business partner on the first car, he did. And so he redesigned the car and made it a Roadster, made it a little more practical. Nothing like going on a Shark with a hardtop and no air conditioning in Florida. Believe me, it's plenty hot. I've had both. So this one, all the convertibles were white. They were all gel coats, and when they came out of the molds, they didn't have to be painted. Mine was white to begin with, then I painted it white, and then for the restoration, we actually copied the Tiburon Coupes paint job, which was done in '61, a year before the Mako Shark, all documented in newspapers and magazines. But we copied what they had in 1961, and it really came out nice. The windshields on the convertibles were regulation or legally had to be glass. We actually made this into a windscreen, which is more appropriate. They were big glass, kind of unsightly, so you'll see these big 1958 Chevrolet windshields, not Impala, but all the other Chevys. And this one is the first one we've done with a nice a small windscreen. We might make, if we restore the other 2, we might make them a little bit taller. We have plans to restore one of them as a Gordini. You know, they are French. All the ones were Renault chassis. The original Shark was built to be on a 356 chassis, and the silver coupe that I used to own is on a 356 chassis. We have another Porsche Bay Special built on a 356 that we have yet to unveil. Missing for 50 years. It'll be a future video if I can convince Mike Puma to come back down here and do another video. Are you coming back down, Mike? He says absolutely. I don't know. One of the interesting things about the car is happening today during this video on the beach. It's a quiet Monday, but it's never quiet around this car. It's always amused me. In fact, one of the things when I talked to the other owners back in the day, they told me about is be careful about this car because it's dangerous to drive. I said, what's so dangerous? He said, not the car, but the people around you. And so you're low enough where you can get some real serious damage. And people are not paying attention. And when you're driving, they'll bump into you asking, you're very low, you're very small, you're very light. This car maybe weighs 1,200 pounds, 1,300 pounds. It's a tiny little thing. So most of the time, I wouldn't be surprised if the other 3 cars were damaged when driving. But we never found histories in the other 3. Heck, I've only found one of the 6 hardtop Sharks. That's why we made a mold of it, so someday we can build another Shark, sail it into the sea. The last thing that I do when I'm, hopefully many years from now, instead of few years from now. So we're very proud of this restoration. And particularly if you come over on this side, Mike, I'll open up this is the updated engine. It's still a Renault engine. It's all here, but notice the lack of gas lines and linkage and so forth. We hadn't finished it. It got so much attention during after the initial restoration that we moved on to other cars. And if you go to our website, if you go to YouTube, you'll see some of the other cars. So I even had people sign it, and I don't know who. It looks like Marvin McFall signed it, our esteemed Renault president for the country. And Marvin and I just partnered on another old Renault special you'll learn about soon. We're very proud of this, very pleased, and it's ready to be finished. Last thing to do was actually show you some people seeing the car for the very first time. So I'm going to look for some volunteers. Sherry and Liz, come on in here for a second. We'll get the email address and send it to you. So who wants to be the driver?
I'll be the driver.
All right, so if you want to shoot from the walk around front, Mike, for a second, and then I'll help you each get in by... This is Sherry. Sherry, where are you from?
I'm from Appleton, Wisconsin.
Okay, there's a nice car made up in Appleton. What are you doing here now?
Just I have a place in Clearwater that I come to for a couple months in the winter months. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Chicago, Buffalo Grove. I moved down 44 years ago. Too much snow up there. All right, so we're going to try to get them both in the car. Mike, would that work? Or we're going to try volunteers. I've not been in the car for years. I used to drive it to this beach in 1981.
Did you ever drive it in the water?
No, they would just end up in the water. But it makes it easier, Sherry, so you can actually put your foot here and here. It's okay if you get sand in it. It's a shark. It's made for sand. Okay, and then we're going to get you on the other side. All right, there's one. Now, Liz, let me help you on that side. And you can interview them right in the car. The first people to be in the car in years. I get this door down. 1 sec, Liz. Okay, whoop. All right, the seats are very stable. Oh, you can stand on the carpet. That's fine. Stand on the seat. No, it's all fine. It's all fine. Okay, I'm going to leave the doors down, though. So that's what it would be. It's a Renault-based car, and the car was designed and built in America. They made 6 of them. I own 3 of them, but I own 3 of them. So, and the other 3 are out there. They're probably all in Appleton, Wisconsin. Yeah, if you go there, you'll find out. This is one I had for 44 years. Mike has classes. A lot of car companies in the 50s and 60s were started very small individual companies. I've got a car from Chicago called the Chicago, and they built 3 of. But we study the cars that were handled by small companies, not the major manufacturers. But some of the best designers in the world were squirreled away, not working for Detroit. I used to drive in high school, go down to the beach. I drive a 59 Cadillac Fleetwood around now. I don't know if you remember those, the big fins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like cars that have style to them. The new cars are beautiful, but they don't have much style. No, but they run beautifully. The new cars, oh my God. I know. The Shark letters, the large ones and the small ones, are done out of stainless steel, and I had them done by a CNC company, metal company, done all plasma cut and such. The originals had it too, but he was telling me, he was like 80 years old, he told me he had to carve it with like a coping saw.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because you could do the same thing back then. It took a lot longer.
Yeah.
It takes long for us. All the strip to hold the glass on is all aluminum. Yeah, I mean, if you Google my name, I'm in probably a few thousand websites with cars, because that's aluminum. I had that done by JRs. I don't think Mike knows that. You can do this in fiberglass too, but I had him sculpt it, re-weld it, bend it in front of aluminum. So it was attachment. Nice. Oh yeah. Sure. And you'll find stuff if you go on the website, click on Shark, you'll see the story about the Shark. And this is the only one I've restored. I had a coupe that we restored, but I sold it because it wasn't mine to begin with.
What?
A coupe of this version. They make coupes and convertibles. You'd have to look it up on the website, but the coupe is the same car, Shark, but it has a hardtop that lifts off like a canopy. It looks like a fighter jet. So if you have a phone, you type in 1961 Tiburon Porsche. It was a Porsche. So much wind out here today, Dunedin, Florida. Normally it's not like this out here at Dunedin Beach, but today it is. So if I concluded the previous part showing people the car, I thought it would be very useful to show how excited people are to see very unusual cars in 2024 and 23 and 25 beyond. We've all seen in the last many years beautiful new cars on the road. They all have many similar characteristics. The time of style from the 50s and the 60s and the 40s, it will never be again. And the cars that were hand built in America is kind of like America's lost secret of special designs that have been lost forever. Undiscovered Classics is all about saving those kind of cars and giving the experience that you just saw with Liz and with Sherry, Liz and Sherry, to as many people as possible, not just in restoring the cars and bringing them to shows, but their friends and family and others. When you see something that is unusual, one person may think this is ugly, one person may think it's beautiful. To all of them, guaranteed they've never seen it before, and they haven't seen virtually every single car that's part of what Mike Puma, myself, and all the rest of us on Undiscovered Classics do our best to save and show. So we welcome you to visit our website. We welcome you to visit our social media. Our best stuff is on YouTube in the last year. And we even more welcome you to buy one of those cars and restore it. And we're happy to help and give you advice as part of that the whole experience. So Undiscovered Classics, we're happy to bring the same experience that you saw with Sherry and Liz to yourself and your friends and family too.